All right, I'm gonna bring Dennis up now. He's gonna kind of go in some of the base operations and talk about a few things within that.
My job is operations director, and that can be a pretty broad category. Jeff's right, I have a tendency to deal with a lot of the issues. Thank you for your patience on all the missing items from uniforms. Always a fun adventure every year. And thank you again for your patience and your diligence on your room bookings, because there's 5 different room booking organizations that we have to deal with out there every year, and all the instructions are always very different. I try to make them as simplified as I possibly can. 99% of you actually read them and follow them. 1% of you have gotten the email that goes, "What did you do?" But we get through it, so it's been great. It's a much better percentage than usual, so I really appreciate it. One of the things that I do as the operations director is I'm supposed to be in charge of code of conduct. To a great extent, that has to do with how we represent ourselves and carry ourselves at tournaments, at practices, and all that fun stuff. Just remember that you're representing yourself, your daughter, and your club, and your values are likely the same as ours, but when you're watching your daughter play and something untoward happens, or somebody on the other side of the net is being mean, or a coach is being insane, or the line judge didn't do their job, sometimes we forget our values. So just remind yourself to take a breath, not scream at an 11-year-old whenever humanly possible. That's trying to line judge is already scared. And things get better from that point. I swear it'll be okay, and your daughter's going to be fine. Communications along the code of conduct, 24-hour rule is an absolute. It's not a request. It helps you, and it helps the coach, and it helps everybody involved in situations. You're going to get mad. It's going to happen. Something's going to seem really unfair, or you're going to look at something that doesn't make sense, and you're going to be angry about it. I say that as a former volleyball parent more than once. But I swear to you, if you wait the 24 hours, then have a calm conversation with your coach the next day, 99% of the time or more, it's going to get better quickly. If you stomp up right there on the spot, it's going to go sideways very, very quickly, and things go from bad to worse, and then I get to be in the meeting, and that gets that much more fun. So typically you don't want me in there unless we're going to have fun and I feed your kids candy from Trader Joe's. But if you wait that 24 hours, I swear to you, it's going to be great. Social media, it's a tough time to be on social media right now. Remember again and remind your daughters that they're representing both your family, themselves, and the club that they play at. It's really important that they keep it positive, keep it, for lack of a better word, classy. There are social media policies that are in the region that are very, very strict. So please make sure, again, that everything's very positive. And then behavior at events. You'd be amazed by the number of times that Facebook Live or Huddle has caught something that you're like, I said what? You did, and it was caught on film and all that fun stuff as well. So again, take a breath. Remember that that's somebody's daughter out on the court. And let's keep the comments if we have a concern about anything tight into ourselves, and we can chat about it again later. I want to talk to you very briefly about travel. One of the questions that we got this year, because we have a lot of folks in that were at other clubs before, why do we have travel set up the way that we do? Specifically, why don't we put 4 girls to a room, the chaperone system, like some other clubs do? One is we're trying to save you a little bit of money, because you're going to pay for their room and your own room, because of course you're going to want to go as well. And then also you are going to have a stranger in charge of your kiddo. And maybe you're fine with that, maybe you're not, but you're also going to be on somebody else's schedule when it comes to travel. And that's really important. We're all so busy, and the kids are so much busier than we ever were at their age. We want to give you as much flexibility in travel as we possibly can. Along those lines, I get this question a lot. Last day of a tournament, what time should I book my flight? After 6 p.m. You're really taking a chance that your daughter will not be able to take part in a critical part of a tournament if it's before 6 p.m., because very often those matches don't start, if your team is doing well, until 4 o'clock in the early evening on those days. So please make sure you do that. The venues that we travel to, both in our state and out of state, have their own rules. We're going to ask that you please make sure that you follow those rules. And if a site director comes up, know that they're probably shredded to their very last nerve. I speak from experience. And they may be angry at somebody else, but it may be taken out on you if you don't just simply do what they've asked you to do. Could be something like throwing away a cup. Please put your garbage over there rather than over there. Pack your stuff out, whatever. Just say yes and please go do it. It'll be really, really helpful. Plus, that's the rules of our region, and it's typically the rules of most regions. Last thing on travel is expectations. It can partially be a vacation when the job is done, but in general it's a work trip, and we'd like the girls to look at it that way. Their performance is going to be affected by their sleep, their nutrition. Ice baths are something that's very important. I know that Julie is a big believer in that, and that's something that typically is used as much as possible to help kids recover very, very quickly. And making sure that the job gets done first. And then if you're going to extend your stay in Orlando or Las Vegas or whatever and turn it vacation, great. But to start, it's a work trip. It's really very serious, a very fun trip. And we want the girls to get used to that at a very early age, especially when they're going for a bid. Nothing's more important at that point. Just very quickly on issues. If you have any issues, you have any concerns, everybody here has my contact information. You can always reach out to me if you have anything that you don't understand, if you see something that you think needs to be addressed. A lot of our families at the MLK tournament were here, we're upstairs. We're here the day we had to kick everybody out and let them all back in one by one. They were super helpful in that process, and we really very, very much appreciate it. Once the construction's done, it'll be a lot easier, of course. But for now, as we continue to host these events, like we're going to be one of the host sites for Festival Fiesta, we'll need your help as much as possible. If you see a team that should not be upstairs, a team of parents, please come and let me know. I'll be here so that we can make sure that everybody that is inside has the opportunity to watch the event the way that they should. Once we rebooted everybody at the MLK tournament, the rest of it went pretty smoothly, but we literally had to act like a door host, or Alan, our site director, did the rest of the day. We're hoping to get to a point where that's not the case, and your help definitely makes that much better. On the facility care, this kind of goes back to when we go to visit other facilities. Thanks, Jeff. We need to always adhere to what they've asked us to do. I spoke to Carlos, who is the owner of Aspire. They host a lot of stuff. He gets a lot of guff because he was always at the front door and yelling at people about bringing in garbage and so forth. He is at the mercy of his landlord. That's why there's no tailgates and all these other restrictions. We have our own restrictions. Club One has their whole thing. All that fun stuff happens. And so the more that we can cooperate and follow their rules, the smoother it will be for everybody, even if sometimes it's inconvenient. The weather's starting to warm up a little bit now, so being outside is not such a big deal in these team camps. But when it is cold, sometimes we just have to be outside. That's just kind of the way it rolls. And I know after, again, speaking with Carlos, he had to deal with a lot of folks being very angry about things like that, not being able to set up camps. Sometimes it's just out of our control. So they're people, site directors, again, it's a very thankless job. And so whatever you can do to help them out would be fantastic. I'm sure folks that came from Rev and EVJ and Storm and all that have had their issues at different sites as well. And since we're now becoming more and more often a host site, this is something that we find ourselves having to deal with a lot more. So it gives us a little bit more perspective on it. The last thing that we're going to ask you to do whenever you're at a travel or you're at a tournament within the state is just to represent yourselves, your family, and us to the highest degree. That means sometimes taking care of things that really aren't your job, just like we do here. If there's stuff that's in a facility and people leave it messy around you, please give a hand and pick it up. We keep losing facilities more and more and more every year. As a result of that, we get asked to host a lot more often than we have in the past. And you get to drive out to Legacy a lot, which I know everybody really enjoys. Yes, I know, thumbs down, I agree. And there, other sites are starting to charge because of this stuff as well. Frankly, because they don't really want to say yes, but they're like, if we're going to say yes, we're going to at least make some money out of this deal. We don't, we won't. We try to say yes whenever we possibly can to the region because we have a great relationship with them. And it's kind of a mutual back scratch that we do with each other. And they have been very, very thankful of our parents in general when they've been at other facilities, and we like to keep that rolling. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And then to kind of touch on what Dennis was saying on the facility, the big benefit that we have is we're the only club in the state that owns their facility. And so I can't say this for certain, but what I think has happened is some of these facilities know the region lost their facility and their landlords don't really care. and they just view it as, hey, we can make some money here because they need us. Okay, so I'm just highlighting that to let you guys know, like, we're not going to be charging like Dennis said, and we don't. And one of the reasons we have the advantage that we own our facility and we can make those calls. Those other facilities, I don't think they can make those calls. But, you know, it was, so I kept saying to some of the parents is like, yeah, it's kind of crammed here, but at least you don't have to pay for parking or pay for entry, you know, to watch your daughter play. So just so you guys know, the facility is ours, and I think that's a huge advantage to be able to run things the way that we want to run them. But I'll turn it over. We have Jen Lenhart. She's going to be talking about our recruiting. So let her come up here.
Hi, I'm Jen. As Jeff said, I'm going to be going over recruiting, and excited you guys are here with us tonight just to learn about the education. Areas that we're going to cover are recruiting goals, what we offer at Sky, starting point for recruiting, no matter where you're at, what grade you're at, exposure opportunities, and then important information. So the first thing that we're going to touch on is those recruiting goals. We aim to equip adaptable athletes for the next level, both mentally and physically at Sky. We will provide athletes the opportunity to showcase at tournaments and encourage athletes to really take ownership in the recruiting journey. They're the ones in the driver's seat. We are here as a front office, as your recruiting director, to provide support for them to take ownership in this role, because ultimately they know themselves, and we want to help them prepare for this process as they go through the recruiting journey. As you'll learn a little bit tonight, they're going to be the ones having the phone calls. They're going to be the ones on the other end of the phone with an adult having those conversations, and we really want them to be able to own this process for themselves. Things that we offer, and I don't know how quick the slides, if that's possible, but either way, it's probably hard to read too. Things that we offer at Sky, we have a front office, as Jeff has mentioned, providing a lot of support. We have myself as the recruiting director who will answer questions, help you guys with this process wherever you're at, with clarity and guidance. We have our coaching staff. A lot of our coaches have either been through this process themselves as an athlete, were current coaches in college, or past coaches in college that have a ton of insight and advice, as well as providing that training opportunity day in and day out for our athletes. We attend tournaments and showcases. We sign them up for competitive qualifiers. The big thing when we think about our recruitable athletes, our high school age athletes, is we're not just trying to go to the most convenient sometimes qualifier, we're trying to go to the best qualifier that gives exposure for our athletes in a great market for a lot of college coaches to end. So typically at the end of a season, if you look at those qualifiers that we attend, typically Sky is attending the most attended qualifiers, showcases, and then nationals at the end of the year. That's important to us. Sports recruits and huddles are also things that we provide at Sky for our gold, blue, and some of our end teams if they've connected. And those are great platforms to help players connect with colleges as well as showcase their talent. A starting point. Everybody's starting point is a little bit different. Some people's starting points is their junior year of high school. Some people want to know about recruiting at the age of 11 and 12. And so what we've done is we've compiled checklists for high school athletes that start freshman year to give the most important information that those classes should be doing. If you're not yet a freshman in high school, looking at that freshman checklist is a great guideline to let you know what's coming in the future. Some of those steps being watch college matches, training, get some really good one-on-one training. We're putting our gold and our blue teams at the older ages through their vertical testing just to get a good baseline to know, oh wow, if I want to play at that next level, I need to be at XYZ mark, and maybe I need to attend something 2 days a week that I'm not at Sky. Another thing that we offer is a recruiting guide. This is a really good roadmap. Jeff and I have worked on creating this, and we're going to be sending you this stuff as well after this. But it's going to go step by step through what that process looks like. The recruiting guide covers next steps, how to create highlight videos, how to create a quality online presence or brand, how to connect with colleges via email, phone calls, text messages, and even how to be prepared for those conversations. And then info about camps and clinics and really which ones to attend to. We get a lot of questions at Sky from our athletes. Hey, is this a good camp that I should be attending? And so we try to really help separate the difference between really good exposure opportunities that are targeted to help that athlete and, for lack of a better word, moneymaker camps that we really want to help steer them away from to put their time in a better situation. Something else that we have at Sky is an intake form that we want you guys to fill out. It's on our website. I also have sent it to all of our coaches who are going to be reaching out to our athletes as well. Just gives us a baseline of where you're at in this process, whether you don't know anything about it at all or you've already maintained contact and you're communicating back and forth with schools. The next thing is meetings. I am meeting with all of our high school aged athletes. We do private meetings with 16 Gold. We just met with their families and their players, and then we're going to be meeting with all of our high school aged athletes in that same setting. We want parents to attend this. We absolutely want players to be in the driver's seat, but we know how important it is to have support at home, keeping them accountable to their goals, and even helping support them in that process. I can also provide one-on-one meetings, phone calls, anything like that to help tailor some of those more specific questions your direction. Exposure opportunities as far as recruiting, so those travel tournaments that we talked about, we really do try to provide a competitive, large room for exposure opportunity for the athletes when we travel, and that's important to us, as well as those showcases that we talked about, UA Next camps, national training camps. Those are things that we definitely want to encourage our athletes to go to, especially our juniors and seniors, to attend some showcases, to really start kind of finishing their recruiting process and finding that right fit for them. Sky also hosts a college coaches camp in June. This year, it's tentatively slated for June 7th and 8th, where we host Division I, Division II, opening it up to some more schools this year, Division III, NAIA, junior colleges as well, to come and interact with our athletes at Sky. And it's a comfortable setting for the girls. It's at home. They don't have to go and get a hotel. They don't have to travel anywhere. To really provide them quality touches in front of a large amount of colleges that they can get feedback from. We put coaches on a court and let them do whatever they want with the athlete as far as putting them through drills that are great for them. And we think this is a really good opportunity for our athletes to be able to have that firsthand experience in our gym. That is a 14s through an 18s camp per compliance with NCAA. We have to limit it by age. And so if you're 12 and 13 and really wanting to come, you get to come when you turn 14, right when you graduate junior high in that summer. And we don't do that because we don't want our 12s and 13s to get great reps. We just have to do that to be in compliance with colleges, and that we want as many people to get here and get those quality touches and those recruitable ages. The last thing with that too is that our college coaches building constant connections with us, building constant connections with our coaches in their travel tournaments, reaching out so that we can really help get to know programs to help you guys find that right fit. I've said it a couple of times, but really we're not just looking for putting recognition on all over our walls. We want that for you guys. We want you guys to get to that next level. But the most important thing for us is that we help you get to a place that you love, that you want to stay there for 4 years or get your master's and continue, that you are finding that opportunity to go and play at the next level and excited about where you're going to be, not just as an athlete, but also as a human being. Some of the important information that you guys might not know about is a recruiting calendar. We have a lot of this helpful information on our website as well, at the AZ Sky website. If you go to the recruiting section, we update that a lot to give you the most important information that's going on right now. In a year with recruiting, there's different times of the year when colleges can connect, when it's a quiet period, a dead period, a contact period, and an evaluation period. Right now we're in a quiet period, so if you're like, if you're a recruitable age, why am I not being contacted? Well, it's because it's in a quiet period right now. And so that means something different depending on the time of year. We're not on campus talking to those schools. So when we get to those connect periods and evaluation periods, that's when the floodgates, for lack of a better word, start opening up. And if you have more questions about what that looks like, it is, like I said, on our website. And it's a little bit more helpful. I think it's great for the student athlete because it really splits up that time so that they're not constantly thinking about what they need to do for recruiting. They can really live their lives a little bit more. And a new rule that they've created is June 15th, your sophomore year. So when you kind of hear me talking about recruitable ages, athletes cannot start having back and forth conversation with colleges till June 15th, their sophomore year. So that you guys can still, if you're under that, you can still be reaching out, connecting, but they can't contact you back. And so it's really important that you guys know that, so then that way you're not getting a little discouraged if you don't receive anything that doesn't seem generic back in the mail. And so once that June 15th date, that's when the conversations can begin. It's not the end of the process, it's only the beginning, when you can really start to narrow down that fit, and then really start to connect and reach out and get to know the programs. Let's see, final note, the last thing that I really wanted to leave you guys with, which I mentioned again, the fit, but it really is not a one size fits all. Recruiting is very different depending on position, priorities, experience, ability level. And so we really want you guys to know that recruiting it's different in volleyball. It's not just, okay, how fast is she? Oh, she can run it in 2 seconds. This is a lot different. Colleges need to watch you to play. They ask us lots of questions about what kind of teammate they are, what kind of work ethic do they have. All of those kind of little things go into it. And so we try to do the best that we can to help prepare athletes on the court as far as being good teammates. All the things that Jeff talked about with the pillars at Sky, grit, integrity, all of those things are what college coaches are looking for. And so we really try to help you guys understand to not compare in this process. My process as a 5, to be honest, maybe 5'5", but I say 5'6", libero, is very different than a 6'3" middle. And so I can't compare my process to her process. And so we really want you guys to know that we're here to support you however that looks, and that we're excited to start this process with you. And if you have specific questions about recruiting, all my information's on the website, and we're really looking forward to kind of helping you navigate this. If you're not in that age yet, we're excited to still help you train. That's where it happens right now, is what kind of training you're putting in. And I don't know the ages of everybody here, but I got to work with 2 12-year-old in libero skills on Saturday and was super excited to see where we're already at that level and how hard you guys are competing. So I'm excited to see as we continue to build where you guys are going to be at. So that's it for me. I'm Jen again, recruiting.